So most times I'd introduce our next guest as the man, the myth, the legend, 3-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP. But right now, as anyone on YouTube can see, he doesn't look like a legend. He looks like James in the car. So James White, welcome back to the podcast. Back in Foxboro for reasons that we will leave undisclosed. No truth to the rumors about joining the staff as an assistant. But good to have you back on the East Coast, my friend. And yeah, how you been aside from sitting in the cold car?
No, it's not too bad. It's a little warmer here than it is in Illinois, so I can't complain too much about it. But yeah, it's always good to be back in Foxboro. A lot of good memories, a lot of good people. So, whenever I get the opportunity, it's always fun.
Cool. What just struck me is you and I were going back and forth this week as we record Thursday night, and this will be out a little bit later than this. We were talking in Central Time because that's normally how we have to deal with me being in the East Coast and you in Illinois. Is that just where your mind permanently is? Because I think you were texting me back about Central Time when you were in Eastern Time.
Yeah, I just wanted to keep it the same. Didn't want to keep switching the time zones for you to make sure so you wouldn't be like, are you sure it's Eastern Time and not Central Time? So I just kept it on, where we started at. That's why I kept saying Central Time.
You wisely calculated. My brain cannot handle multiple time zones, and we kept it the same as a wise move by you.
It had nothing to do with you. I was just making sure there was no confusion.
I gotcha. Well, as always, and I told you this off air, we appreciate you taking this time in this little rinky-dink podcast. And you've been very popular. Great show with Mike Kadlick and the folks at CLNS who spoke with you earlier this week. Highly recommend anyone else go listen to that. In the meantime, I'm going to try to get real nitty-gritty with you here and to get into what the Josh McDaniels offense, which everyone should remember, right? The guy has been around as an offensive coordinator, 13 years in New England, 14 years total. That 1 year with the Rams, everyone forgets. And this is the only offensive coordinator you really knew because you didn't get a chance to play for whoever the hell was in charge in 2022. But when you think about the offense that you watched, James, at home and probably shook your head a lot about the last year to what you think you'll see this September running through January, what will be the most dramatic changes when we watch the Patriots play offense under Josh McDaniels again?
I think there'll be a detailed offense and, they'll be prepared. And I think you'll see that, week in and week out. I just thought, watching the team over the last couple of years, just a lot of inconsistencies. Like, I wasn't in the building or anything, so I don't know how the preparation went or how the practices went. But I know with Josh McDaniels, he's going to make sure he holds the players accountable, and the standard's going to be extremely high, at all times as you sit in the meetings, as you go through the walkthroughs after the meetings, when you go out to the pre-practice walkthroughs, when you get out to practice, he's on top of everything, like from offensive line, quarterback, running back, receivers, tight ends. Like he doesn't miss stuff. Like like if you take a false step or if you look the wrong way, like he's gonna catch that. Which look, it can be tough. Like as a player, you're like, I wasn't like doing this or that, but he just wants to make sure he's relaying the right information to you to make sure that he knows that you're on the same page with him as far as what he wants to see get done.
So I think we can skip over the part where you think it's a good idea to bring Josh back. We can skip over my endorsement, which I've made clear. Call it a 9 out of 10. Like, this is categorically good. But what I want to know is, as someone who's lived this and grown in it and experienced it, I think what we'll also notice as a change is the identity shift week to week. Now, that is predicated on the Patriots getting enough talent again in a way that they've not had really the last 3-4 years to go from power running team 1 week, go spread the following week. So when you guys were doing it, let's presume they get T. Higgins, they get, a couple of offensive linemen. There's enough to work with there. And Drake's obviously at the controls. He can do whatever. How did he do that? Like, take us from the meetings, squad meetings, positional meetings, practice, the game, 1 or 2 weeks where you had a very different game plan 1 week with Josh, and he made that completely new the following week, and it worked similarly, if not just as well.
I think it just all depended on the defense we were going up against. What were their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Are they good up front on the defensive line? Are they good in the secondary? Are they weak at the linebacker position? You try and figure out, where you want to attack your opponent, and I think that's always his point of emphasis. You want to make them, try and play, at their weakest point. Like if they're not very good against 22 personnel, we'll probably run a lot of that. If they're not good against 13 personnel, we'll probably run a good amount of that. If they're not very good at stopping gap schemes. We're probably going to do a ton of that. Not to say that we won't completely, do anything else, but we want to see if they're able to slow down what they've put on tape they struggle with. So you definitely want to attack their weaknesses, and that doesn't mean like you don't have, same like repeat plays from week to week, because you definitely do. There's a lot of the same stuff. Maybe it's just switching up the personnel group, or maybe moving receivers in different spots, just shifting in motion and getting into it versus lining up in it. Just different ways of doing it. And I think he's always done a great job of, self-scouting, like what we've done, so far, what we've done in the past, and just trying to tweak it some to make it look a little different, but it's actually, the same exact thing. So it sounds like almost complicated, but it's not, really too much. There may be sometimes you show up on Wednesday and there's like a ton of new plays on there, and you kind of figure out, what plays look good throughout the week. You may scrap some, you may add some. Sometimes you add some stuff on the sideline. Sometimes you add some stuff the day before the game. It just all depends. And like I said, he literally doesn't stop working, preparing for the game probably until the game actually starts. You know what I'm saying? He's always constantly thinking of how he can attack the opponent, which I think is always really cool. And I think a big part of it too, like when I was playing, we had a lot of veteran players who had played a ton within his system and played a ton of football. So I feel like that was fairly easy to do. Like I'm not sure if he'll have that same type of approach with some of these younger guys. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I said it's been, I know I said it on Mike's podcast last night. I saw that he's been going around to different college programs and NFL organizations, kind of feeling out what they're doing, trying to learn some new things. So who knows? He may have a little bit of a different approach from in the past, but I just know at the end of the day, the preparation will be there. I know he's gonna do whatever he can to make sure those guys know what they're doing, what the defense is doing, and how they're supposed to attack it during the week.
So give me one example. Give me a time. I know he did this time and again, but like one that really stuck out or like wowed you. Like this is a holy shit kind of detail. And whether it paid off or not, you're just going, that's a type of level of nuance that, you had plenty of coaches at Wisconsin, plenty of other coaches around the league, high school, but you go, this explains Josh McDaniels, this one part of his preparation.
For me, just like one game plan that always sticks out is in my second season when I really first, started playing after Deion Lewis got hurt. We were playing
2015,
we were playing the Jets at home, and pretty sure either Rex Ryan or Todd Bowles was the head coach, and they always send a ton of blitzes and like all that stuff. And then their defensive line was great. Like that was the strength of their team with Sheldon Richardson, was that Muhammad or
Wilkerson.
in the middle, Muhammad Wilkerson, and then they may even had Leonard Williams at the time too. Or they had like a ton of first round picks up front, and like in the meeting, we like all throughout the week, we pretty much were saying we're not going to run the ball. Essentially, we're not going to run it very much. I don't know what the total of runs we had in that game, but from what I recall, it wasn't very many. We went into the game, kind of anticipating that we would have to, throw it to win. And that requires a ton of blitz pickup for a third down back. Obviously, you're going to drop back and throw it all the time. And I feel like I picked up like 10 blitzes, the entire game, and had like a few catches or a few touches. But just going into that one, just saying like, we're not going to do much of this. We're going to do this in order to win, and going out there and doing it. Pretty sure the game was, pretty close to. We ended up winning it. But yeah, just us believing in, what he put in that week, just completely almost abandoning the run game and going out there still winning the football game. I feel like not many people will, kind of conceive like that go into the week. But as long as everybody believes in what you're, putting in, what you're saying, and and actually believe what's going in, it can happen. It can work.
So here are two players that outrushed you, James, and you had you had 2 carries in this game. Opposite you, Ryan Fitzpatrick ran for 25 more yards than you did.
Yeah. I probably had like 3 catches and probably like 2 carries or something like that.
You want to know? Because obviously I'm looking at the box score here. You had 2 carries for 4 yards. Okay. Tom led all of you with 4 carries for 15 yards, one of which was a scramble, and there was a touchdown in there somewhere else. LeGarrette Blount, though, you all of you blew him away. 3 carries, minus 3 yards. He went backwards a good 10 feet.
Yeah, that's. But we went into the game. That was the game plan, though. Like,
right.
That was our mindset, and like I said, we respected what they had up front, and like I said, we put in a certain game plan to win the game, and we executed it well enough to beat them. And like I said, their defense was their strong suit of their team. They had a lot of good players, and like I said, and that was a year we shuffled a ton of offensive line groups all throughout the year. So I would say that wasn't necessarily our strong suit that year. So that's probably a part of why we went in with that game plan too.
Yeah, you had total 9 carries, 54 pass attempts. And honestly, I would assume back in the day you weren't running zone reads with Tom or any bash counters. So those 4 carries that he had were probably a few scrambles, which really means this was about like a 56 to 7 ratio pass to run.
Those
it's
were
a
not
great
design runs. Yeah.
yeah, there you go. The other thing about that too, when I think about Josh and the last offenses that you've seen, is there's been a lot. There basically been one back offenses, right? And so when defenses come in and they prepare for you, there are a certain limited number of protections that you can run, a certain number of schemes that you could run. And we all know the Patriots kind of dabble with, Hunter Henry, come on back, put your hand down, you're gonna be a fullback here. But no one's really, all due respect to Hunter, who's been on the show, like he's not James Devlin. Okay, he wasn't even Landon Roberts in 2019. What does introducing more of a 2-back running game with the fullback, or sometimes when you guys are running pony and it's you and Rex in that package as 2 halfbacks, what does that do to defenses that we haven't seen since Josh left?
I mean, I know I didn't carry the ball a ton throughout my career, but in college, running behind a fullback a ton. I love running, with the lead blocker. They kind of set the tone. I know offensive line sets the tone too, but having a fullback, they set a tone, for the entire team with their physicality, with their presence. And, in this era of football, not everybody's seeing that from week to week. So it gives them an extra, thing to prepare for. And they can get involved in the passing game too, based off of play action and sneaking those guys out. As you see, with San Francisco 49ers, with, Kyle Juszczyk, his versatility, definitely helps their offense out a ton. You can, line those guys up on the wing, line them up in the backfield, and do a lot of different things. And their versatility, helps the offense. And I think it's an added boost in this day and age in football, because just guys don't know how to prepare for it and they don't want to deal with it. And you probably can ask any middle linebacker too, when you're running like lead plays with a fullback, they don't want to see that a few times a game. Like that's a tough and physical, collision, where they're trying to defeat a one-on-one block and trying to bring the running back down. So I think the fullback position, hopefully, it makes its return to, many more teams. And I'm sure Josh will find a way to get a fullback involved.
It's a lot of smoke is what it is. It's a lot of smoke in a neck roll jersey where I don't care if you're playing in the 90s or you're James Devlin. No one's messing with that dude who's got the little extra hump kind of behind his neck, because he knows his job is to sometimes snap his neck backwards, taking on blocks or delivering them. I hope so. That's back to. And it's funny. I remember, I mentioned Landon Roberts, who people forget converted to fullback once James Devlin got hurt. Unfortunate neck injury really ended his career. And I remember asking Bill late in that year during a press conference, like, hey, you guys really committed to this 2-back stuff. Like, but you don't have the personnel for it because Landon's a linebacker. Like, why is this a rare instance where you're committed to kind of scheme versus personnel? And he basically said, this is a big part of who we are. This is our playbook. Like, if we give up on this one position, you can kiss goodbye to 25% of your playbook. And imagine going into games in December and January, you guys are fighting for your playoff lives. We were like, oh, well, we only have 75% of our stuff available to us. And I think you're right. Since then, the game has gone, it's condensing a little bit more, but you still don't see a ton of 2-back in the league.
Yeah, you see more teams committed to the run game. Is really showing a point of emphasis, but not many teams having that 2-back system. I think for us, like whether it's goal line, short yardage, all those different types of situations, when you put that fullback in the game, that people have to respect it, they have to honor it, and it sets a few different things up as well in the passing game, as I said, with play action. So it definitely was a big point of emphasis for us. James Devlin, he was a huge part of our offense. Definitely was tough to, see him go down. And Atlanta made some cool plays for us too, even getting a touchdown out of it.
Finally, that last game,
yeah, which was extremely hilarious. Yeah, but yeah. Hopefully he brings brings the fullback back.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a quick break. And then on the other side, I want to go to the pass game because I think when we watch this Alex Van Pelt passing game, it's run first, play action heavy. But when they got drop back, it's pretty standard stuff that they've carried through the 80s and 90s, like nothing that really scared you. Josh, however, a lot of designer plays. We'll get into those in 1 second. Happy championship weekend. I've got a question for you. Do you think Jaden Daniels will throw for at least 1 yard, one single yard Sunday in the NFC Championship game in Philadelphia? Yeah, me too. Well, if you think so, you're halfway to a winning PrizePicks lineup this week. It's that simple because this championship weekend, PrizePicks is giving away a free square in your lineup where you pick 2 to 6 player stat projections, more or less on each, file it away, boom, win some money on the back end. And the way you can do this is if you add that Jaden Daniels square for more or less than, and be honest, we're all picking more, than half a passing yard, there's your first square. All you have to do is pick a second one at America's #1 daily fantasy sports game, and it could be Patrick Mahomes for more or less than 253 passing yards in the AFC Championship game. It could be Travis Kelce, more or less than 69 receiving yards in the AFC Championship game, or a Saquon Barkley touchdown. If he rushes for more than half a touchdown, boom, in the NFC Championship game, and Jaden Daniels completes one stinking forward pass, you won over at PrizePicks, where they're giving away millions of dollars in championship weekend and the Super Bowl. So lock in right now. Download the PrizePicks app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You can use this money with Venmo, MasterCard, you name it, quick and easy, whatever way you want to do it. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup with Jaden Daniels, more than half a passing yard, and pick any other player, any other stat, any other projection, and lock it in. But only at PrizePicks. Run your game. All right, now we're back. Third down call. I sent this in the email. You had no objections to the rundown. I don't know how nitty gritty, but we promised nitty gritty on the front end. Can you give us off the top of your head something that was in the playbook? We're talking 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 7 and longer, where you've got multiple routes, options, protections. Like, get us back into the complicated Patriots offense we all knew and loved, and some of us obviously played in.
It's funny, I feel like our play calls weren't, extra. I heard like some of Sean Payton's like verbiage, like what he was like relaying to Drew Brees, which sounded, insane.
Yeah. Obnoxious.
Pretty obnoxious. All the words that came out of his mouth. For us, be home to gun, spread right, 66, branch, H sneak alert, 72 or 74 wrap organs, like something like that. It's not like overly complicated, but you can go from it being a 6-man protection. You get first for myself, home means I line up, outside the formation, outside all the receivers, get an indicator, for the quarterback, man zone indicator, come back to the backfield.
Yep.
Based on what we see, if it's zone coverage, the call will stay on. If it's man coverage, alert the play to the 74, which means I would, and hopefully there's no opponent teams watching this, but it means I would.
Sorry.
It means I would with free release and it kind of alert to man-to-man routes for the receivers, and myself, which I would have an option where I can, run a 5-yard option route, break either way, sit down versus zone. So there's different, forms of it. I mean, I'm sure there is longer plays that we had, but that's like the first one that kind of comes to mind. I think Josh's third down package was always, really good. A lot of times we were coming to the line of scrimmage with, 2 plays. If you run a man, we have a play. We run in zone, we have a play. Or if a team is pretty vanilla, you kind of know what you're getting. Yeah, maybe we won't do that. But yeah, the preparation was definitely there.
I know you didn't play receiver, but as we've established, you carried the ball a little less and you caught the ball.
Yeah.
The option route that you mentioned, very, very standard HB option route. If you can think of a receiver route that had options to it, what was a particular route or concept that had the most options in it? Like what I'm getting at is like we talk about the complexity. It can be represented by wording and the wordiness of a play call. But I'm talking about one guy's assignment and he's reading post safety versus split, blitz, man, zone, and he could do 5, 6, 7 different things. Like how high is that number?
Oh, it wouldn't get like that extensive to where you can run that many different routes. But like we had like for Julian, a lot of the slot guys, we had like a read it route where if we get man coverage, essentially Julian has the whole field to work with. He motion him from like outside the formation to like the slot position on the run. He'll go like go in for 5 yards, up for about 10 yards. Then he can break right, he can break left, like based on the leverage of the defender. So that just all comes down to like repetitions between the quarterback and the receiver. Kind of getting the field. Not all quarterbacks love those option routes because they kind of have to wait to see where the receiver is going to break. I mean, maybe like as you build chemistry, you have a better understanding of where that guy may end up breaking. But I know not all quarterbacks love that. But Julian made a killing like off of that route, and I think it's something that every offense should have in their system when you get man-to-man coverage. Because it's tough, especially at the slot position. You put a guy in motion, the DB kind of has to back off. He thinks you're kind of running across, so you end up it's end up turning into essentially a corner route, or it can be the crosser. So it's like a tough spot. You put them in a bind, and then like the other receivers are forcing a little traffic too, so you can end up bumping into somebody else. So there's some complexities to it. I mean, even like we have like a X pistol route. That's typically like a 1 or 2 man route. We get in, it could be like 22 personnel or 21 personnel. And essentially it's like a 1 man route or a 2 man route. It'd be something. I don't remember all the verbiage, but X pistol to where it's like a Randy Moss route where literally runs wherever he wants and puts his hand up where he essentially the point to the angle where he's running, and Tom would throw it all the way down the field and just make a huge play on it. Those are probably like the 2 routes, and like that man-to-man coverage. That may not even have to be man-to-man coverage. That could be zone coverage, just to where the receiver just steps on the toes of the safety, and whatever way he feels he wants to run or feels like he can beat him, you put your hand in that direction and the ball's going up.
That's a hell of a gig. Like we see this in Kansas City, and Travis Kelce just gets to go wherever the hell he wants. And I guess maybe you earn it. Like once you got a gold jacket without wearing it yet. Like Randy, when he got to New England, probably was making it there anyway, certainly after 07. Then he's like, yep, I'm open.
Yeah.
This is it.
I will say not everybody gets the opportunity to run those routes. There's only certain people that get to do that. You have to earn it for sure. And like I said, Jacoby was definitely one of the best at that read it route that I was talking about as well. He made a field day on that route too, because he's very good with his route running.
Yeah. Anything we missed just about Josh and the complexity of the system? We could pick your brain all day, but obviously we got limited time here. So I just want to make sure we're not missing anything. We talk about Josh is coming back, the fundamentals, details are there, 2-back run game, passing game is going to give you a lot more option routes. And that'll be interesting to see how Drake May adjust to that. What have we not said?
I just think for Drake it's going to be good with his development from year 1 to year 2. Obviously, it's going to be a learning curve going from one offense to another. I'm not always the biggest fan of these young quarterbacks having to switch systems all the time, but I do believe Josh will be here for many more years. For them to build that chemistry, you saw what he was able to do with Tom. You saw what he was able to do with Mac Jones in his first season. With how Mac was able to pick the system up really quickly, I think Drake can do a similar type of thing. As long as he, puts in the reps and gets those young guys and offensive line, everybody on the same page, I think he'll just learn to have even more command, over the entire offense, be able to make checks, make mic points, know where the weaknesses are in the play. If you get a certain look, have an audible or in your mind that you can get to based on what you're seeing. Like it kind of get up to the line of scrimmage. You have a play called. Josh calls the play. Get up there. It's a bad look. Maybe you don't have a alert on the play. To get you out of it. You have a base play in your mind already. Kind of a safe play. It's like, all right, we're just gonna check to this to kind of get us a little bit of a breather play, get a couple yards, instead of creating a bad play and just forcing the play and running it just because Josh called it. And maybe he won't have that in year 1, but as he kind of goes on and gets more comfortable with it, you start to become more of a well-rounded player, learning not just what you have to do, learn what the defense is trying to do, and knowing when you have problems.
Yeah, there are so many backup quarterbacks I talked to when you were playing and since you left, or really just since you left, because that's when Josh left too, that just loved his system so much because they felt like they had all of the answers. And this is something that's been verbalized before, but like what you're talking about, hey, if I don't have a look, there is a play, there is a concept we have with options off of that to alert or check to that no matter what you throw at us, theoretically, and this doesn't always happen,
Yeah.
but if we have the marker last on the whiteboard, which you do often because you control the snap count, then you can still beat it. And I think that's something that has been missing, frankly, the last few years. And it's not always the right philosophy, but does that resonate?
Yeah, it definitely resonates. There's always, something you can get to. It doesn't have to be some crazy play. It could just be a very basic play that you did on day one of OTAs or training camp that can work against man coverage. It can work against zone coverage, and you have a couple options. If it's zone coverage, I'm working this side. If it's man coverage, I'm working this side. You know what I mean? It's just kind of, I know I hear Tom talk about all the time, like in his podcast before he took over with broadcasting, just like some of these quarterbacks in the league, the coach calls a play, they're just going to run it regardless. They're not, really trying to figure out, it's just actually, going to work based on, what I see, pre-snap. It's like, if we have a man play called and you clearly see, a zone coverage and you don't have an answer to that play for zone coverage, why are you running it? Don't snap the ball. Call something else that can, get you a few yards that you trust and believe, to where you don't have to just hold the ball and, try and force something and create something. So that's kind of the evolution of a lot of young players, and they have to get confidence with that too. The more they, see defenses and get a feel for the game, I think that all comes with it.
All right, we got a few more for you. Let's start here. Your chief of staff, congratulations. You walk into this, whatever this is, ambush Thursday night, Foxboro paid appearance. They're giving you a job. You get to hire a couple of coaches or make some suggestions. Cloning Scar and Ivan, or bringing them to the Fountain of Youth, is off the table. Who would you like to see fill out Josh McDaniels' staff? Who would do a good job?
It's kind of tough because, me, I'm only familiar with for the most part, the coaches that have coached me. So obviously I would love to see Nick Kelly come back and, coach the offense in some aspect. Chad O'Shea, he was a great receivers coach, very detail oriented. I always give him a ton of credit because he was a red zone guy. We helped design the red zone plays when he was here. So he helped dial up a lot of good plays for me, helped me score a ton of touchdowns. So I'd love to see, Chad O'Shea come back. And I saw rumors of Thomas Brown potentially joining the staff too. Some familiarity there. He took over as a running back coach at Wisconsin the year after I left, so I got to talk to him and meet him a couple times. I know he coached, Sony Michel, I'm pretty sure at Georgia too at some point. So I know he's been a good coached some really good players. Obviously thrown in a tough position, I'm sorry the light went out there, but thrown in a tough position, taking over as the interim head coach for the Bears. But I thought he did a good job trying to help Caleb Williams settle in his rookie season. So, yeah, I think he'd be a good guy to add as well.
All right, one more quick break. We got two more for James. We'll get him out of here. Okay, so I know most of you still remember. It's only been about 5 years. The Patriots playing playoff football, the best of the best going head-to-head. That's what January and February is all about. I don't know when the Patriots will be back, but I know if you want to make lifetime memories, whether it's the NFL playoffs or later on this year, the NBA playoffs or the NHL playoffs, or you want to even go to a March Madness game, there's only one place to go. It's Gametime, the best secondary ticket marketplace you will find for one simple reason. They have a lowest price guarantee. And I use this, as you heard me tell you before, to make lifetime memories with my wife out in London. Went to the game with one of my best friends. Granted, he was a Jags fan. Nothing you could do about that. But the point is, I went to Gametime because they gave me that lowest price guarantee. Plus, as I was picking out tickets for them, they gave me a seat view right there, what it was like to be in Wembley Stadium. And you could do this even if you want to go to the Super Bowl. Find that exact seat. What's your view? Compare it to another one. But only at Gametime, where you get not only the seat view and the lowest price guarantee, but Gametime picks, where they give you all the best deals right up front, all in pricing. You don't even have to go searching for all these different deals. It's just the best of the best right there. You can find your tickets and go to the Super Bowl or any other event in less than 60 seconds. So what are you waiting for? Download the Gametime app today. Create an account. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase in these lifetime memories. Terms do apply. Again, just create an account. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, the best tickets, the lowest price guaranteed tickets to any game, concert, show, playoff, or regular season. Guaranteed. What time is it? Gametime. All right, back again. Yeah, you are. There it is. All right, we got the light back here. For folks on YouTube, we're wondering James is floating in space.
Oh, man.
So I got bad news for you. Nick Caley, it seems like, is going to interview for the Jets offensive coordinator job. So I don't think you carry the same vitriol in your heart. I know you and I have discussed this, how much Bill, to the bitter end, hated the Jets, Jets. He might be across the way. We'll just have to see and deal with that when the time comes. But let's talk about the new head coach, Mike Vrabel. Okay, you went head-to-head with him twice on the field. 2018, bad blowout loss in Tennessee. And a game that no one really played that particularly well. Obviously, the wild card game, Tom's last game here in New England. Take me through the week when Bill, who obviously knew Vrabel quite well, is breaking everything down about who this football team is, who this coach is, down to their football soul. This is what they're going to do. This is how they're going to do it. What was said?
I mean, when you're facing a Mike Vrabel team, they're going to play hard. They're going to play physical. They're going to be tough. And, you're going to have a bunch of guys that are going to play for him. He's a guy who played in this league. He's a guy who had a ton of success in his league. He's coached at the college level. I compete against him, there as a coach at Ohio State, all the way to the NFL with the Texans and with the Tennessee Titans. And he talks stuff just like, one of the players and everything else. So I think he'll bring great energy, for those guys. It'll be something, kind of similar to like a Bill Belichick type of system with his own, kind of spin to it. He's going to have those meetings to where, those guys are knowing their opponent and everything like that. So, yeah, when you're facing a Mike Vrabel team, they're going to be detail-oriented, and it's going to be a physical football game. So I think, and I saw with Terrell Williams, too, with, kind of his point of emphasis, I want violent players. And that's, like I said, I think that's the type of system that I believe that. That's what they're going to be, all about. Not to say that everybody's going to be the most physical person in the world or anything like that, but they're going to have a bunch of guys and try and find guys that fit, that mold. So, and I think it's good because especially this year we lacked a ton of physicality at the point of attack. So I think that point of emphasis will be really good for this team.
I remember 2018, they got you with some cross dogs. Right? Yeah. They didn't blitz a whole lot, and they played some inverted cover too. So is that, we're talking spin the dial, defense is back here. Do you remember any particular plays that or the wild card game where it was like, oh, that's a wrinkle, and you know what, honestly, they got us?
Oh, yeah, we played them in 2018, I believe. They brought a bunch of different blitzes. I've had to pick up Logan Ryan quite a few times in blitz protection, him, blitzing off the slot position. They brought, linebackers and everything else. So they definitely, will spin the wheel. They're going to be aggressive. I think it all starts, up front, with their defensive line. In Tennessee, they had good players up front. They had some good linebackers, too. I think that front seven is a huge part of their defense.
Yeah. So you want a Jeffrey Simmons trade? I advocated for one last week.
Oh yeah, for sure. I saw his tweet. I was about to comment on, like, go ahead, man, pack your bags. We'll take you too.
What stopped you? What stopped you? That sounds like an excellent recruiting pitch.
Yeah, I should have sent it out. Never too late.
Never is. Well, I hope you never tell me to pack my bags, because that means we're never doing this again. Always a treat, my friend James. I treasure your time, you being on the podcast and sitting in the car and chatting with us. We've had one other person do this, Michael Holly, who did a whole hour with us. And we were talking about Bill left. I don't know if you ever met Michael, but I was shocked. We just kept going and going. It honestly went pretty well. Maybe we should do this more. It should be so-and-so from the car joining the podcast.
Yeah, man. Yeah, very, very authentic,
All right. Best of luck. We will continue to push for you to be the assistant running backs coach, even if you are doing so against your will. James White, everybody. We'll have you back later this year. And great to see you, my man.